No, I want to listen.
So good morning, good morning. I'm on ground. Good morning.
Okay, you can't get
Good morning, I'm on ground. So the first thing I will say here,
you don't even need to. You are going out.
first thing I will say here is for all
You
of
are
you
going, I will
to mute yourself. Mute yourself.
tell
If you don't mute yourself, I will remove you from this room. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Careful that they are clear by we don't confuse.
So good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Don't mute yourself on this
Good morning,
line.
sir.
I will remove you. So that we can have the best of lecture. The first thing is to mute yourself. When you mute yourself, so that everybody can hear the lecture. If you don't mute yourself, I will remove you from this group. Mute yourself. In the next 5 minutes, if you don't do that, I will remove you. I will remove you from this room. I know some people will not hear what until I remove them. I will remove you from the group. If you don't mute yourself, I will remove you from the group. That's just the basic truth.
Success, mute yourself now.
If you don't mute yourself, I will remove you from the group. Mute yourself. If you don't mute yourself, I will remove you from the group. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm going to continue from where I stopped last week.
Hello, my dear, please. My name is Kelvin. I want you to indicate. Let me make you a co-host before leaving the class. My name is Kelvin from GLI. Kelvin, please. So I want you
Okay,
to
that's all right.
indicate. Yes, sir. So I'll make you a co-host. Yes, sir. Okay, Ruth. Make it Kelvin. Sorry, sir, what name should I use to search you so that I will make you a co-host? Governor, are you here?
Yes,
His
I'm
name
there.
is Hamid
H-A.
Ojodu.
Yes.
What, sir?
Is that what?
Okay, so I'm asking that what name should I use?
I say Hamid Ojodu.
Okay, hold on. Hamid Okay. I've also sent I've sent the YouTube link to the governor. So the governor, I think, will also share on their general WhatsApp so that they will also have access to you on YouTube for the sake of those that will not be able to join, sir.
So good morning, class.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Please, again, I will appreciate if you can mute yourself so that everybody can have the best of this lecture. If you keep talking, I will remove you from this platform.
Good morning, sir.
Can you please keep quiet there? Hello, good morning. Share the document. This is the document. Come. Hello, good morning. Are they hearing me now? Yeah, we have muted them. They can hear you. They can hear me now. Good morning, class. So we are going to continue from where we stopped in the last lecture. We are going to continue from where we stopped in the last lecture. Yep. Good morning.
I've muted every other person so that we can have the notifications. And I've also made you a co-host.
Okay, thank you. God bless you.
Yes, sir.
So good morning, class. So we are going to continue from where we stopped in the last lecture. If you remember vividly, we are discussing the school of thought that contributed to the development of management in the last 2 weeks. And we classified those school of thought into stages ranging from classical or scientific school, neoclassical or human relations school, behavioral school, and contingency stroke institutional school of thought. However, we finish up with the contribution of a scientific school of thought to the field of management. But now we are going to continue from where we stop on. I think in the last 2 weeks, we are to discuss the contribution of human relation school of thought. I'm currently sharing the screen now. I'm currently sharing the screen now. If you see the screen, you know, we are on the people that criticize the contribution of scientific school of thought in the last lecture before our time went off. However, I will quickly run on the critique of scientific school of thought. One of the critiques is unemployment. The people believe that the school, based on their contribution to the development of management, what they design, the likes of principle, doctrine, motion study, etc., led to what's it called? Led to unemployment, because some of the work that people supposed to have been doing is being done by one or two people, which invariably create unemployment. That is one of the reasons. If you look at the notes, put this one, if you look at the notes under the unemployment, they say worker feel that under the note, they say worker feel that the unemployment, they say worker feel that management reduces employment opportunity from them through replacement of men by machine, and by increasing human productivity, less workers are needed to do the work, leading to shocking out from their job. Meaning that because the scientific school of thought were only interested in ensuring that the use of machine to replace a human being. And these people now come up to say that by doing so, machine will be doing the work that people are supposed to be doing, and invariably it will lead to unemployment. That is one of the critiques against the school, the scientific school. Then the second one, they said the school led to exploitation, meaning that workers feel they are exploited as they are not giving due share in increasing profit, which is due to their increase in productivity. However, if you look at the school of thought very well, we will realize that by and large, they shortchange the workers, believing that because majority of the work are carried out by machines, the benefit that the workers supposed to get are being derived used by the machine. So by so doing, exploitation is one of the drawback of the human relation. Then the third one is monotony. Monotony means that when you are doing the same assignments all time, it will lead to burden, it will lead to burden, it will make the work to look uninteresting. And by so doing, they believe that when you are doing the same work the same time, you will not like the work over time. So they said due to excessive specialization, the worker are not able to make initiative on their own. Their status is reduced to being a cog in the wheel. Job become dull, worker lose interest in job and derive little pleasure from work. That is the other negative of the school. They also made mention of the fact that scientific school of thought weaken trade unionism, believing that by the virtue of the scientific school, the activity of trade unionism are weakened because of the introduction of a machine and some other underlining idea put forward by the school. The last one they mentioned is overspeeding because of the use of a machine. However, we will now move to the second school proper. But before we do that, the next page, we look at the differences between management and administration. If you look at management, they say management is an art of getting things done through order by directing their effort towards achieving a predetermined goal. But in administration, they say administration is concerned with the formulation of broad objectives, plans, and policies. However, if you look at other things that differentiated the management from nature, they say management is an executing function, while administration is a decision-making function. We use process. Management decides who should as and how should it be done. However, but administration decides what is to be done and when it is to be done. Function. Management is doing function because manager get the work done under their supervision. But administration is thinking function because plan and policy are determined underneath. Then skill. The technical and human relation skill are needed under management. But under human relation, conceptual and human relation skill are needed. Those are the major differences between the management and administration. So the next thing on this note is we are going to discuss the contribution of human relation school of thought now. And if you remember, in the last lecture we had, I made mention of the fact that in management, we are used to school of thought. School of thought. What do you mean by school of thought? If a set of people have similar idea, believing that their idea follow the same pattern, they call themselves schools. Those are the style that some of the university adopted. If you look at our own school, for instance, we call it Faculty of Management Sciences. We have Faculty of Science. We have Faculty of Engineering. We have Medicine and Surgery. Because people that belong to that faculty, which otherwise known as school, they have similar interests, similar idea, and their core area of core objective are similar. The same thing applies to this school. So the pioneer of human relation school of thought here is known as this man known as Autumn experiments. If you look at the autumn experiments, the auto effect is named after what was one of the most famous experiments or accurate series of experiments in industrial history. It marked a sea change in thinking about work and productivity. Previous study, in particular, the one conducted by Taylor, influenced idea, had focus on the individual, on a way in which the individual perform could be improved. Atom experiment sets individual as a social context, establish that the performance of employee is influenced by their surrounding and the people around them. That's why they call them human relation. And they also move further to say that under this human relation, they castigated the scientific school because they believe that they are more on how to get the one more on productivity at the expense of the worker. The human relation school, if you look at the slide, they said the man conducted experiment. The experiment took place in Western Electric Factory, a suburb of Chicago, in late 1920 and 30. They were conducted for most part of under supervision of Eton Mayor. Eton Mayor is an Australian. Is one that and aside being an Australian, is a psychologist by profession who eventually became a professor of industrial research at Harvard University. He believed that in a human relations school, as against scientific school, he conducted a study and he classified the study into 4 phases. And those studies are called Autumn experiments. He classified, look at the way it's classified. The first one is illumination experiments. The second one is a relay assembly test experiments. The third one is a mass interview program. And the last one is a bank wiring observation room. Before I move further, please, if you think you have any question, just go to comment section. I will read and I will respond to your question. Thank you. So let's start with illumination experiments. According to Eton Mayo, illumination is nothing but, to him, it was of the view that if you look at the experiment, they said the experiment was conducted to determine the effect of illumination. What is illumination? Lighting on productivity. Illumination experiments was conducted in 1924 to 1927. Experiment is to determine the effect of changes in hour, another working condition on productivity. Relay assembly test room conducted in 1927 to 1928. And conducting the plant's wide interview to determine worker attitude and sometimes and sentiments. Mass interview program in 1928 to 1930. Now let us see the illumination experiment. Illumination experiment was undertaken to find out how varying level of industrial effects, industrial illumination affect productivity. The hypothesis was that with higher illumination means lighting, working condition. With higher illumination, productivity will increase. In the series of experiments, a group of workers was taken or choosing separate them from other group of workers to know the impact of illumination on working condition. What the man did was, in that factory, he picked some selected worker randomly. He now separated them from the other workers. Those selected workers that he choose, he give them good working condition, lighting, ventilation, air conditioning. The atmosphere was very conducive. So in now time, the people that is separated from other workers, at the end of the exercise, the productivity of the separated group and the productivity of other group, they were the same, irrespective of lighting. So the man now concluded that what really matters most in an organization is the kind of relationship that exists between the superior and subordinate in an organization. Believing that if the relationship is very clean, there's a likelihood that it might really increase productivity. If you look at the second paragraph of the slide, it says since the group was subjected to experimental changes, it was termed as experimental group. Another group is called control group. Continue to work under constant intensities of illumination. The researcher found out that as they increased the illumination in the experimental group, both groups increase production. When intensity of illumination decreases, the production continues to increase in both groups. So the manner concluded that the production in the experimental group decreased only when the illumination was decreased to the level of moonlight. The decrease was due to light falling much below the normal level. What the man just want to say is that illumination means that when working condition and other atmosphere were comfortable, he was saying that when the working condition and other atmosphere in the experimental group were differ, their productivity decreases. That means they are regulated by illumination. But the other group who are not part of the group, irrespective of the illumination, their working condition was not really affected. That was the experiment conducted under the first phase called illumination test room. Before we move to the second stage of experiment, if you have any question, can you go to comment section, send me a text so that I can respond to your question, please. Or you raise up your hand if you have any question. Okay. If you have any question, let me know in the comment group. Okay, Udoka Isaac, can you unmute yourself and say something? What's your question? Udoka, can you type your question, please? Oladokun Gabriel. Oladokun Gabriel, what's your question?
Udoka,
Oladokun Gabriel.
unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself and talk. Oladokun.
What's up?
Oladokun.
Udoka, I want to ask my question, sir.
Okay, what's your question, please?
Sorry, it's not really a question. It's just what I want to say is everything you are saying here is good. Like I don't really understand it, but because the slide that we were given, the material we were given is very different from this one. So I was just thinking if there's a way you can help us with this one, so I can study it. Because I can't really find some of the things you mentioned in the ones we actually given. Thank you, sir.
He said what? Can you repeat your question again?
I said that I don't know if it is possible that we can get this material, this your slide that you are using, because the one I have here is actually different from, it's not really detailed like this one.
Do you know what happened? I think I've sent the slide to your HOC. What class is this? Are you in the economics or business admin? Oladokun. Anyway, no problem. I will forward the slide after the lecture. Or let me forward this immediately. So we continue the lecture. So, as I was saying, the second phase of the test was relay assembly test room on the Human Relations School of Thought. The major reasons for conducting the test is just to ascertain and to negate the position of the earlier school, scientific school, that not only making the work to look scientific, that can guarantee productivity, that human relationship between the superior and the subordinates can also determine efficiency. That is what prompted this study that Etomeyo conducted. The second phase of the study is on relay assembly test room, meaning that this study was conducted in relay assembly test room in Chicago. If you look at the man, he said relay assembly test room experiments were designed to determine the effect of changes in various just condition on a group productivity, as illumination experiment could not establish relationship between intensity of illumination and production. What I would like to say here is that the first test experiment that this Etomeyo conducted was about illumination, to know the impact of lighting, working condition on the productivity of an employee. But in these instances, they said this one is trying to use what illumination did not cover. It's trying to look at the effect of trying to move employee from one job to another job to determine whether there's going to be differences in their level of performance. At the end, they say for this purpose, the researcher set up a relay assembly test room. 2 girls were choosing. These girls were asked to choose for more girl as a co. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Okay. They said the 2 girls asked to choose for more girl as co-workers. That is, they give them freedom. They pick 2 girls, and the girls were now asked to choose people that they prefer to belong to their group. The work related to the assembly for the purpose. Okay, these 2 girls were asked to choose for more girls as co-workers. The work related to the assembly of phone relay. Each relay consists of number of parts which get assembled into finished products. Output dependent on the speed and continuity with which the girl work. The experiment started with introducing numerous changes in the sequence with a duration of each changes ranges from 4 to 12 weeks. So they said an observer, as they are doing this assignment, an observer was associated with the girl to supervise their work. Before each changes was introduced, the girl were consulted. They were given opportunity to express their viewpoint and concern to the supervisor. In some cases, they were allowed to take decision on a matter that concerned them. At the end, this is the result of that. They said, at the end of that exercise, they now discovered that the incentive system was changed so that each get extra pay was based on other 5 rather than output of larger group. Says 100 worker or more. The productivity increases as compared to before. 5 points. 2 5 minutes rest. 2 to 5 minutes rest. One is morning session, another is evening session, were introduced, which were increased to 10 minutes. The productivity increased, the rest periods was reduced to 5 minutes, but frequently was increased. However, what I want to bring out here is that when you are reading the notes, is that they try to look at a situation where they gave worker freedom to decide the way they wanted to do the work. Whether if they use that route, the productivity increase more than what is expected by the management. But at the end of that experiment, as each changes were introduced, absenteeism decreases. The number of people that absented themselves from work reduced, moral increase, less supervision was required. It was assumed that this positive factor were there because of various factors being adjusted and making them more positive. At this time, researchers decided to revert back to original position, that is, no rest and other benefits. Surprisingly, productivity increased further instead of going down. What the man said is that because they gave the workers freedom to decide the way you want to do the work. Initially, they introduce some parameter. After some time, they now withdraw that parameter to determine whether that productivity will reduce or not. At the end, they realize that productivity did not reduce because of the freedom that the worker enjoy. Even the absenteeism and some other things will also reduce. At the end, this development caused a considerable amount of redirection in thinking, and result implied that productivity increased not because of positive changes in physical factor, but because of the changes in guest attitude towards work and their work group. They develop feelings of stability and sense of belongingness. For some of us that work in an organization and you are given some sense of belonging to determine the way you want the work to be done, you realize that because you are given that such freedom, you wouldn't want to disappoint your boss. You want to do everything possible to make sure that your performance did not fall below expectation. That is the scenario they are trying to paint here. That if you give independence to the worker, they are likely to perform better rather than putting them under a strict or stringent control. That is what Relay Assembly is trying to prove here, to tell you that human relation play a major role in determining workers' productivity. That is that about the second experiment. We are going to third experiment here, which is mass interviewing program. Before I go to mass interviewing program, if you have any question, can you raise up your hand and unmute yourself to say something? Any question, please? Do you have any question? If you have any question, unmute yourself and raise up your hand so that I can be able to treat your question. Any question, please? Okay. Mercy, can you unmute yourself and talk, please? Unmute yourself, Mercy. Mercy, unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, what's your question?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Based on the number 2 you are talking about,
Okay,
sometimes
relay assembly test room.
yes. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Based on your explanation, sometimes
Mercy,
given. Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello, sir. Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello, sir.
you are not talking. Can I go ahead?
I can hear you, sir, but I think you are not hearing me. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, what do you say? I can hear you now. Yeah.
What I'm saying, this basic words, what is it? Please, can you scroll down small? Let me see.
Is it
Relay ahead.
delay assembly test room?
Yes. So is it
Delay
the rule?
assembly test room is an experiment.
Okay. Like
Go ahead.
that giving workers freedom. Is it the best
Okay.
way? Because in some aspects, when you give them that freedom, they will misuse it. So I don't know, how do you explain to us more so that we can be able to understand?
Do you know what I will tell you?
Yes,
When
sir.
I commence this particular chapter,
Yes, sir.
development of management, we classify them to different schools. We said we have a scientific school, we have human relations school, behavioral school, we have contingency school. At the end, you know which one is more appropriate. I will tell you which one is more appropriate. We cannot say a particular one is more appropriate now until I finish all the school concern. Are you with me?
Okay, sir. I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's work. Any other question, please?
No,
Christopher.
sir.
Okay, there. Can you mute yourself? Christopher, what's your question? Christopher. Christopher, are you there? Christopher, what's your question?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, there.
All right, so my question is on that relay experiment you were trying to explain. You said something that
To explain, okay.
Okay, you said something that the changes was really from the men, that it was the people or the workers that chose to change their behavior and took more. So that is why I don't really understand, because I felt like
No. Don't misquote it. Do you know what really happened? Wait. The first, if you look at that woman relation, the first one we discuss is illumination, where they introduce good working condition, good lighting, good environmental working condition, and they separated some workers from other workers. They make those people experimental group, and the other group, they let them do their own work. They call them control group. At the end of the work, they now realize that despite the way they vary the mode of doing the work, the experimental group, they are the one that mess up. The control group, they still perform up to the expectation, despite the fact that they change the lighting anyhow. They are not bothered at all. But under the relay assembly test room, they are trying to say that instead of using illumination, they use other thing. What they did was, in that relay assembly test room, it's a manufacturing company. What they did that they pick 2 girls. After picking the 2 girls, they now instructed the girls to pick other people that they prefer to work under them together without supervising them. They give them freedom. At the end of doing the work, they now realize that they perform better without supervision. Their attitude change, level of absenteeism change. What they are trying to say, they are just trying to look at what is the best management practice that one can adopt in an organization. They only stated their own position. You will see other people's position now in the third one we have to discuss now. When we now finish the historical development of management, you now see the area of convergence where they say a particular style is more appropriate. But at the end, you will see our conclusion. But by and large, as we progress is here, in management, no particular style is better. What is better is what the organization is trying to achieve at any point in time, that they feel it can suit their purpose. Am I communicating? They are trying to say that no particular management style can suit all situation. What situation depending on the situation in which the leader finds himself. So we get there. So let's move to mass interview. Can you mute yourself, please? Let's move to mass interview program. This is the third phase of human relations school provided by Hector Mayo. They said during the course of experiments, about 20,000 interviews were conducted between 1928 and 1930 to determine employee attitude towards company, supervision, insurance plan, promotion, and wages. Initially, the interview were conducted by means of direct questioning, such as, do you like your supervisor? Or is your opinion fair? Or do you have favorites? etc. This method has the disadvantage of stimulating antagonism or oversimplifying yes or no responses, which could not get to the root of the problem. The method was changed to non-direct interview, where interviewer was asked to listen to instead of talking, arguing, or advising. The interview group gave valuable insight about human behavior in the company. You see their own position. No, let me move down a bit. Now, after the interview, come and look at their findings. They said a complaint is not necessary an objective, racial, or facts. It is symptoms of personal disturbance, the cause of which may be deep-seated. Objects, person, or events are carried on social meaning. They become deleted to employee satisfaction or dissatisfaction only as employee come to view them from personal situation. They said personal situation of worker is configuration composed of personal preference, involvement, sentiment, desire. The position of status of worker in the company is a reference for which the worker assign meaning and value to events, objects, features of the environment, such as hours of work and wages. Social antagonism of a company represents system of value system. Then the social demand of worker are influenced by social experiments in the group, both inside and outside the work plants. You have seen the findings. I stated it. Do you know what they are trying to say there? After the interview, they just try to tell you that they conducted an interview and they make the interview to be formal. But when the interview was formal means that the question they are going to ask, they have already itemized those questions. They said by so doing, bias can come in. People might not want to say what is in their mind because they believe that somebody is watching them, observer is watching them. They can deal with them thereafter. But when they change the scenario, by not making the question standardized, by making it an indirect questionnaire, they are now getting the best response from the employee. It's like you want to ask your child a question, face-to-face question. You are a mother, and the father is seated there where you want to ask the question. And the question was about the father. Do you think the child will give you accurate position of the father? No. If you having phobia, that if he says something otherwise, father might deal with him or her. So he might not likely get the best from this child. So if the child be model, other than by doing it directly, where the father was not there, or doing it the other way around, you can be able to get the best from the child. That is what this school is trying to tell you, that the best you can get from the employee is when you allow them to use their discretion, their common sense to get the task done. If they use their discretion and common sense, they will do it better. Look at in your individual houses. When you give an assignment to your child and you are not at home, and you say, if you do, whoever that did the most assignments is you are going to give a particular thing to him or her. You see the way they be fighting, doing it. Let me give you a scenario. Like my boy, when he attended at 15, he wrote JAM. He scored 260 something. But you could not enter university there. And I promised him that when you do it again and you score above 300, I'm going to do a particular thing for you. My sister, the boy scored 311. That is what they are trying to say here, that if you give people some discretion or relationship, big good relationship among workers, you get the best from the worker. If you are a very strict tyrann supervisor, you might not get the best from employee. When you're not there, they will do otherwise. But when they like you, they will say, that Oga is not like that. Oh. You are going to do everything possible to help that Oga. That is the way it works. That is what they are telling you, that the assumption of Taylor, believing that when you introduce scientific process of doing things, you get the best. They are now saying that at times it might not work like that, that human relation too, that emanates in the process of discharging duty matters a lot when you are doing the work. So any question before I move to the bank wiring observation, the fourth one? If you have any question, can you raise up your hand? Okay. Bank wiring observation experiment. This is the fourth one. This experiment was conducted to find out the impact of small group on the individual in this experiment. A group of 14 male workers were formed into a small work group. The men were engaged in the assembly of a terminal bank for use of a telephone exchange. The work involved attaching wire with stitches for certain equipment used in telephone exchange. Hourly wage for each worker were fixed on the basis of average output of each worker. Bonus also payable on the basis of group efforts. It was expected that highly efficient worker will bring pressure on less efficient worker to increase outputs and take advantage of group incentive plan. However, the strategy did not work, and the worker established their own standard of output, and this was enforced vigorously by various methods of social pressure. The workers cited various reasons for this behavior. These are the fear of unemployment, fear of increased output, desire to protect slow worker, etc. The Autumn experiment clearly showed that a man at work is motivated by more than the satisfaction of economic need. Management should recognize that people are essentially social beings and not merely economic beings. A social being, they are member of a group, and the management should try to understand group attitude and group psychology. You have seen that school, the bank wiring. Bank wiring is talking about relationship within the group, but in different way. Here, the separated group of men, and they now gave them the standard that they are going to use to perform their task. Unknowingly to the management, the group now changed the model to suit their own purpose, believing that the management model can be endangered to their work because they want to protect the interests of some of the colleagues who are less efficient. So they don't the losses of less efficient worker, they want to hide it so that it will not affect him or her in future. They now design their own model and they still perform beyond the management expectation. So by and large, on all the four experiments, look at what human relation concluded. They said social units. They are saying that a factory is not only techno-economic unit, but also a social unit. Men are social beings. The social characteristics at work play an important role in motivating people. The output increase in relay assembly due to efficiently functioning of social group with a warm relationship with a supervisor. Some of us could bear this, we could testify to this. Some of us, when you are enjoying your work, you don't know the time, you don't know when your time will go, the closing time will be. You'll be surprised. So enjoying the work. Some of us, if you don't go to work one day, you won't be happy. You'll be missing your colleagues at work because the atmosphere in the workplace is very friendly and people are enjoying the work. That they are saying that the significance of social units is very germane in increasing productivity. 2, group influence. This is another conclusion of that experiment. That is, the worker in the group develop common psychological bond, uniting them as a group in the form of informal group. Their behavior is influenced by this group. Pressure of a group rather than management demand frequently has the strongest influence on how the productive worker will be. Some of us could testify to some of this assertion. Majority of our friends today, they are our colleagues in our respective workplace. To the extent that you can even go further by getting married to each other. That's the joy of a group. The third thing they mention is a group behavior. Whichever behavior you have, your group will shape it. You'll be forced to align your behavior to the demand of the group. They are not saying that management must understand that typical group behavior can dominate or even supersede individual prosperity. That is what I'm trying to say here. Then the fourth one is motivation. When people work in group, it serves as motivation. Human being, woman and social motivation can play even a greater role than mere monetary incentive in moving or motivating and managing employee. These are the position of the Human Relations School of Thought. We have others like working condition. It matters. Productivity increases as a result of improved working condition in the organization. Employee morale. This man, all these things we have been discussing was championed by Eton Mayor. Mayor pointed out that workers were not simply cog in machinery. Instead, the employee morale can have profound effect on productivity. He also mentioned communication, balanced approach as those things that affect or promote productivity. That is the contribution of auto study, auto experiment provided by Eton Mayo. If you have any question, can you raise up your hand, please, before I move to the next slide? Any question, please? If you have question, unmute yourself and talk. Any question, please? If you have any question, unmute yourself and talk. Yes. Gabriel, unmute yourself and talk, please. Gabriel, I'm waiting. Gabriel, unmute yourself and talk. Gabriel, talk. Hello. Olalokun Gabriel. Can you unmute yourself and talk? Olalokun Gabriel. Okay, if you are not talking, Clement, can you talk, please? Unmute yourself and talk. Clement. Can you unmute yourself and talk? Okay. Okay. Can you talk, please? Okay. I'm coming. Yeah, I can talk now. I've already unmuted you. Balogun. Gabriel. Hello, are you there?
Good morning, sir. This is
Good
NS
morning. What's
Favor.
your name? NSA. Okay. What's your question?
NS Favor. Sir, please, I
Okay.
don't understand the relay assembly test room. I really don't understand that. Can you help me to explain it? Thank you.
You don't understand which one?
Relay assembly test room experiment. The
Relay
four phases
assembly
of Horton. Yes.
relay assembly test room. Let me take the slide there so I can be able to get it better. Relay assembly test room. What they did in relay assembly test room was to determine the effect of changes in various job conditions, meaning that instead of allowing employee to be doing the same work all time, they now move employee from one job to another over time so that can have experiences of all the job-related activities. They said by doing so, it increases productivity. Let me give you a scenario. Probably you work, let's pick accounting department, for instance. You work in accounting department. They move you from cashier to bulk room or from bulk room to bank reconciliation, to the extent that you know all the rudiment of what is involved in the accounting department, you'll be happy now. That will invariably increase productivity. And the sense of belongingness will be there, that the organization will recognize you in the sense that you can work in all area of organization. That will create joy. That will create harmony in the organization. That is what they are trying to say there, that we allow you to work. If you look at the last paragraph, they say an observer was associated with the girl to supervise their work before each changes was introduced. The girl were consulted. They were given opportunity to express their viewpoints and concern to the supervisor. So they allow them to choose who and who they prefer to work together with. At the end, they now realize that it guarantees high level of productivity. When you are giving freedom in an organization, what do you want to say there? When you are giving freedom in an organization, you will have sense of belonging. And when you have sense of belonging, you want to work very hard so that you not disappoint the organization. Remember, when they promote you in an organization, they will say this promotion is due to your hard work, and make sure that you justify this promotion exercise for future whatever occurrences. What they are doing there is to encourage you and to commend you for the work you have done before and the work you are still going to do in future. So thank you.
Okay, sir.
Any other question, please?
Thank you very much, sir.
You are welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. One after the other. Who is on it? Who is there, please?
Your
name is what? Okay, go ahead.
Please, I want you to elaborate that illumination experiment, because what I want to know is the relay assembly test room is based on the freedom given to the workers, and it increased
good one. Yes.
Why that mass interviewing experiment was based on the complaints of the workers to know if they actually, but the illumination, I don't really understand. Can you please help me?
Do you know what? First of all, understand the meaning of illumination. Even I want to pick your house, for instance, in your room or in your house. Anytime NEPA take lights, do you always enjoy staying in the house? Everywhere be burning. But when there is light, you'll be able to do a lot of things. Let's say you want to cook in the evening. In the process of cooking, NEPA just took light. When it took light, you are going to be bored. It's going to be boring. Oh my God, NEPA have taken light again. But when there is light, illumination, you can leave the kitchen when you put steel in the fire and come to the living room and take AC and relax. Before you go back again, you will enjoy the cooking. But when you are doing the cooking under intense condition, where all the environment is very hot, everywhere is hostile, you don't enjoy the work. You don't enjoy doing the cooking. That is what they are saying under the illumination. Meaning that illuminator means that all the atmosphere is very conducive, the lighting is superb, the working condition is superb, the furniture you are using is nice one, everything around you is neat.
Finished.
Are you getting it? So
yes, sir.
That is what they are trying to prove there, that if such happen in an organization, can that improve illumination or not? That is what they are trying to say there.
Okay, sir.
Is it okay?
Okay, sir. So illumination experiment is based on the easy procedure given to the workers.
Not easy, meaning that when necessary requirement, necessary condition needed to make the work, needed for the worker to make the work go smoothly are provided, it will enhance productivity. That's what they are trying to say there. Is it going to enhance productivity?
Thank you, sir.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Another question before I move on?
Sir, can I ask my question now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's your question? One after the other. Okay. Your question, please. What's your name?
Rebecca.
Your name is what?
Rebecca.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
When you talked about difference between management and business and business. Like your network went off then, so I couldn't hear anything from then to illumination. So I don't know what was in the middle. Maybe definition of relation school of thoughts. I don't know if you can go back to that place and let me know what's there, sir.
They are just drawing us back. Oh, okay.
Sorry, sir.
You know, after the scientific school, we now discuss the relationship between management and administration. Obviously, the first one, they say management is an art of getting things done through order by directing the effort towards achieving predetermined objective. But they said administration is about formulation of a broad objective, plan, and policies. Do you get it?
Okay, sir.
Management will come before administration. Do you get it? That's what they're saying. Management will come before administration. They say management execute function while administration take decision. Then we have process. Management decide who should assist or should do it, but administration decide who is to be done, what is to be done. Management is doing function while administration is thinking function. So just read some of those things, but you're still going to read some other similar things that can give you some insight into some of these things we are just saying. Any other question before I move to the next level?
Yes, I have a question.
What's the question, please?
Sir, my name is Sani Moise.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
Please, I did not get the last two.
About the
bank
wiring observation, sir.
Wiring observation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, how does group dynamics influence individual performance, sir?
Okay, let me tell you. First, you should be able to know the meaning of group dynamics. The process by one set of group relates with another set of group is known as a group dynamics. What we are trying to say there is that, let's say for instance, you work in a particular session in an organization, and probably your friend work in another session. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Don't forget that the model for compensating you people can be different. Probably the way they are compensating the other group is different from the way they are compensating you. You know, jealousy will set up.
Yes, sir.
Your own group might want to do something better than the other group, so that management can recognize you as well. That's the meaning of saying, we are saying that it's foster group dynamics, where there's going to be a high level of competition among the groups. Individual group will now start envying each other. Oh, share in the column, or share you the only one. We can do it better than you. So that's the meaning of group dynamics.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. You're welcome. Another question before I move on. Okay, let me move on, please. So, if you look at scientific school of thought, you realize that before we move into human relation school of thought, propagated by Tomeyo, where we have all these relay assembly tests, illumination, bank wiring, and others. We criticize scientific school. We said because of their lapses, that is why human relation school of thought come on board. The same thing applicable to human relation school of thought. They also have their own critique. So we now want to discuss criticisms of these experiments that we discussed earlier. One of the criticisms is that they said the experiment lack validity. They said the experiment lack validity. The experiment lack validity. What do we mean by the lacking of validity? They said the auto experiments were conducted under control situation. This finding will not work in a resetting. The worker under observation knew about the experiment. What we are trying to say there is that to castigate them, that when people know that you are observing them or you are conducting a study about them, there's a likelihood that they will comport themselves. That is what they are saying. That, do you get it? That And it's true. If your children knows that you are watching them on certain things, they will comport themselves. So that's the meaning. That's what we're trying to say here. They are saying that because the object knows that somebody is watching them, that there is a likelihood that they might try to comport themselves to align with the requirement of that study. That comportment might not necessarily be their real self. That's one of the critics. The second one is more important to human aspects. More important to human aspects. That is, the auto experiment give too much importance to human aspect. Human aspect alone cannot improve production. Production also depend on technological and other factor. They are saying that if you look at that study, the emphasis on human relation, human relation, human relation. They are now saying that other thing other than human relation can improve productivity. That's how they castigate them. Then the third one, more emphasis on group decision making. The auto experiment place too much emphasis on group decision making. They're not saying that in this situation, individual decision making cannot be totally neglected, especially when quick decision need to be taken. Hello? Hello, Ruth. Okay. Let me quickly run on. They said you have another class immediately after this class, but let me quickly run on this critique. Sorry, critique. So we say this. Then we also they say it places more emphasis on group decision than individual decision. Then over importance of freedom of worker, they said they place too much emphasis on freedom of worker, and that might not necessarily be true in the real life situation. By the grace of God, all things being equal, we continue from here. We will go to the next school of thoughts. The next school of thought that we'll be discussing after this school is a system school of thoughts. We will continue from there, from system school of thought in the next class. But before I leave the class, before you go, please, do you have any question to ask me? If you have any question, please, can you please raise up your hand and say something? Any question?
Good morning,
please.
sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
What's your
This
name?
is Goodness.
Goodness, you're welcome.
Yes, sir. Sir, please, my question is that we are given two modules now to use now. This one, yours, now they just shared it with us not quite long on our platform, and we'll be given a slide since that will be used in all the slides. So I want to know which of them should we focus more, should we use in reading?
If you look at the one I gave you now and the one they gave you before, they are similar. It's just a lecture notes. Depending on your mode, when you see a document, some can be easily be readable than others. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That's what we call it university. Some book, when you see it, it's more difficult to read. Other, when you see it, it's more easy to read.
Okay, because I just went through it now, not quite long. This topic you are teaching us now is not in the other module. So that is why I'm asking that.
If it's not there, you need to read it. Because don't forget the fact that your question is going to be CBT. It's going to be CBT. Try to add the knowledge of some of those concepts, please. Thank you. Hey, that person. The best way you can enjoy this lecture is after the lecture, take your time to read the notes. When you read the notes, you'll be able to link my lecture with the notes. That's the best way to be a student. But don't just wait until your exam is about 1 week or 2 weeks before you start reading. Reading is different from reading newspaper. You must read to understand. I wish you guys all the best. And thank you for listening to the lecture.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
Sir, good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Can,
sir.
can you make your
Bye-bye.
number available to us, sir, to reach you, to be able to reach you, please?
Thank you.
By what? My phone.
Yes, sir.
It's with your group. Is it business or you can ask your HOC. I'm just going to put in your platform so that you can reach me anytime.
Please, sir. Thank
Okay, I
you.
wish you all
Thank
the
you
best.
very much.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.